Okay, now I think I'm live. Do tell me if I'm not in fact live, because that would be unfortunate. But you tell me. Hi, I'm Elise Anmchara, aka Elise Edwards for Anmchara Astrology, and thank you for joining me on Anmchara, aka Elise Edwards for Anmchara Astrology. Oh, there we go. Now I can hear it, and now it's resounding all over the place. Amazing. Okay, I think this is on. I think we're live. Please let me know in the chat. And again, thank you for joining me. I don't know if I've ever done a live on. I am wearing a shirt. Don't worry, it's just very hot. And for those of you who would prefer it like I'm not wearing a shirt, you're welcome. Um, this is Anmchara Astrology download for the full moon in Capricorn, which we are still under right now, even though the full opposition between the sun and the moon took place today, this morning at 7:39 a.m. Eastern time. So I was attempting to schedule this live about 12 hours after it while we are still fully in the full moon energy. But I really wanted to go into some of the things that we might be experiencing right now, what the lessons of this full moon are. It can really feel extraordinarily trying. That is with a purpose, I assure you. That is because we are taking a hard look at what it's going to take for us to maintain the structures, the systems, and whatnot that we. Oh my God, if anyone is tuning in, and if anyone is tuning in that has watched me on the Shuli Network, I literally just was getting a call from the one and only Ray DeVito. So Ray is like now my new, like my mom. Whenever I'm doing something live or whatever, I essentially have to get 4 calls from my mother, who has no idea that I'm on, just to make sure that, it's business as usual. But anyway. I definitely just want to let you know that, every year we go through this full moon during Cancer season, when in Cancer season, we want to feel good. We want to give ourselves an opportunity to rest and digest. For those of us that live in the Northern Hemisphere, it's summer. It's, depending on where you are, it might be, obscenely hot, and really the most opportune time to rest and digest and, kind of put work aside. But every Cancer season, we also get this full moon that, you know, um, gives us a very sober and dutiful feeling that we have to just do the work. Like there's no way that we can not do the work. And so, it's just important. I just want us to focus our intentions around the full moon, which is both a culmination of the things that we have been experiencing and that the intentions that we may have planted 2 weeks ago during the new moon. But once that process comes to fruition, to completion, then the real need or focus of the full moon is to release. So I want us to understand that today we are accepting where we are in the world, where we are in our emotional and economic and societal security. And we need to essentially allow ourselves lovingly and soberly to accept it and actually take a look at how much we have achieved for ourselves, and in terms of our emotional and societal security and advancement, from 15 years ago actually. And just know that it might not look like what you thought it would. It might not feel how you thought it would be. You may have worked really hard for something that you don't know if it's going to last, or if it has any place in your heart anymore, or if it has any personal or societal significance. And really, like I said, if we can open ourselves up to being vulnerable and accepting of it, then the work that we have ahead of us will be that much easier to accept and devise and, you know, embark on than if we hold on to, you know, the could have, would have, should have's, and, you know, maybe having taken the last 15 years to really advance yourselves in systems of external authority, external power structures, things that have no actual personal resonance with you. And now you're wondering if it was all a wash. And so I assure you it's not. But right now, there is an energetic reason or challenge that we have going on in the sky that, again, is about us. It's about us reclaiming our individuality and our integrity and our power. And we may have embarked on a bunch of, you know, things. We may have tried new things out since Saturn went into Aquarius, and well, first in March of 2020, but I would say more specifically when it re-entered Aquarius in December of 2020, and it only just left, Saturn just left Aquarius in March of this year, 2023. And then we also had Pluto move into Aquarius. So that gave us like that extra umph of like, yeah, I'm going to definitely dig my heels in and become more fixed around these principles that I now know are my duty to like bring to fruition and all that kind of stuff. But then all of a sudden, and these are in the notes for the show, so please take a look at those. But we had, you know, we may have experienced some serious setbacks. We might be freaking out in a spiral of fear and uncertainty, especially as what very much seems like these external authority systems, maybe the corporate job that you left, all these kind of things that you thought you were working diligently and creatively to free yourself from ever having to go back and rely on again are somehow just calling to you, and you're feeling like, holy shit, it's hard to feel anchored in a reality or have, your risk taking and creative abilities fully at the forefront of your conscious mind and actions, because we're freaked out that we are in fact not tethered to anything and that if we go bust, there is nothing to save us and we will be excommunicated from society and existence and all that kind of stuff. And I'm really getting a lot of, I don't know, this is it, that Jim Carrey speech. I feel like he's given it in a few places, but I know it was all over the internet and they still have reels of it on YouTube everywhere, where he was talking about like, everyone's gonna, you're gonna die. And, everyone everyone lives and dies, but not everyone like lives and tries to make a life for themselves doing what it is that most brings them joy. So you might as well try, because like the worst that you can do is fail and have to try again. And I don't know, obviously I'm paraphrasing this and I'm doing a horrible job, but who gives a shit? You get the idea. So again, I just want you to really appreciate where it is that you have been and what it is that you have accomplished over these past 15 years, and know that we are kind of in a short squeeze, both economically and from the universe, because this is the last gasp of air for these power systems that have been going on and have been developing and requiring us to conform and choose duty over love and, choose their process and protocol versus that which we feel is most important to us, and how we would like to devise the work for ourselves, something that feels, authentic and organic to ourselves. And I just assure you, I mean, and this is especially for anyone who's watching who's like, I think I might need to, go back and maybe do some temp work or do something like that. Having to put on the uniform for a couple days of the week is not or a few days of the week. It's not failure. It's not surrender. In fact, if you can allow yourself, like I said, to show gratitude and acceptance for what it is that you're experiencing, that which we've been through, that you really have achieved a lot. And, you know, also we've like had to re-fucking parent ourselves. So, and we're actually integrating some more invaluable data as to how it is we still need to work on the discipline, the inner discipline, what kind of things in terms of lessons of efficiency and systemizing our own creative endeavors, you know, our own, you know, business endeavors, our own, you know, recentering the power structure around the individual versus looking to daddy, looking to boss man to provide that sense of structure and purpose and authority and of course security. So maybe a dabble back into a corporate world or into, you know, something that you thought you'd left behind forever. Maybe you can actually go back into it with the eyes of, I'm going to actually use a bunch of these things as a template of how to, you know, make sure I get things done, or developing processes of accountability, you know, streamlining ideas and stuff like that. So, you know, it's not a total wash, but we are getting squeezed. We're getting squeezed. So there's a lot of really good videos online that describe, you know, in further detail what's going on with the full moon in Capricorn. I don't want to go into all of them. I'd rather just like send you to those videos because I think they do a really good job. And because what I really want to talk to you about are the Sabian symbols for this full moon, because they are awesome. And for those of you who are new to my channel, who are new to my process of astrology and, I don't know, delineating ancient and cosmic knowledge, the Sabian symbols are a visual system of that were intuitively guided or downloaded from, well, one could say the universe, but more specifically the Sabians, who upheld the Chaldean, which were moon worshiping people, and yes, some would also say the originators of astrology, or at least the astrology that we do today. And yeah, the Sabians kept up this moon worship and attention to the stars, and the use of water as a source of spirit, of emotional and emotion, intuition, and a symbol and element of spiritual continuum. And this was all going on when it was hard to continue to do that. Because there was, you know, basically a bunch of sun, fire, worshiping, conquering spirits. Basically, we can say, I know this is going to be very much a trigger word for a lot of people, but essentially the patriarchal external authority systems, and then the focus on monotheism at the expense of any other kind of worship or anything, and this like massive consolidation of consciousness that started, the seed was planted 6,500 years ago, but then we started to see it take greater form as, you know, there was a mass consolidation of power around this singular consciousness. It didn't help that the Sabians were also, you know, egalitarian, you know, mystics, and they didn't believe in weaponry, and they were like pacifists and all this kind of stuff. So obviously, once you get to the Bronze Age, you kind of don't have a chance around that kind of thing. If someone wants to conquer your shit, they're going to conquer your shit. So, but the reason I bring that up is because for a system of symbols and whatnot that was devised in the 1920s by tapping into an ancient, you know, mediumship or channel and wisdom from, you know, the like 3,000 years ago, possibly before. The three Sabian symbols that bring up both the karmic condition, starting with the karmic condition, what brought us here, okay, the focus of this full moon, and the quest that we have to go on in order to integrate its knowledge, all have keywords in them that are so specific to what's going on right here in this day and age. It's uncanny. So as someone who even, read tarot cards before I read the English language, when I first was exposed to the Sabian symbols in 2012, I was blown away. I was like, this is the absolute best fucking thing to happen to to I don't know, to the knowledge and to the ability to impart it. It really takes the guesswork out of a lot of things. It might sound crazy, but it just does. So I will put a link somewhere in the comments or something so that you can get more information on the Sabian symbols. But the book I use is called 360 Degrees of Wisdom by Linda Hill. And actually, let me get up the interpretation or like the notes that I have on my screen, so I'm not constantly looking down at this super awesome book, as fun as it is. Okay, so again, for the full moon in Capricorn, again, this is what's coming to like all the way. This is what has come. This is what has reached its maximum point of, of this dichotomy, this push and pull between internal security and external security. And this is, what brought us here historically, spiritually, evolutionarily. That's, shown by the first symbol that I'll talk about, Capricorn 11, which will represent our karmic condition of this full moon. And then the second symbol, which is Capricorn 12, is the focus of the full moon, the lesson that we are here to take in. And of course, the last one will be Capricorn 13, which will show us the quest that we are on in order to integrate and, achieve this evolutionary step through our spiritual evolution, which has to be grounded in the physical. That's a very important step not to overlook, okay? Like the world, life, it is both mystical and pragmatic, okay? There's a tangible physical world, there is a spiritual world. We are the intermediary for these things. And so that's what I'm talking about in this case. So the karmic condition of this moon is represented by Sabian symbol for Capricorn 12, which is, for 11, Capricorn 11, this is the karmic condition. And the symbol is pheasants display their beautiful colors on a private estate. Pheasants display their beautiful colors on a private estate. So this symbol obviously has to do with beauty and refinement and maybe even some peacocking, and being on display in a luxurious and beautiful large estate. So it definitely shows the, abundance of brilliant beauty and luxury and refinement in these available, but on these, estates that inherently, are communicate that this is that it's exclusive, that the access to it is exclusive. And so while it's beautiful that there's these, luxurious, large, maintained, well-maintained estates that pheasants can go around and show their beauty and abundance of both themselves and nature and what's available to us in the world, it also signifies that this is available to some people and not to others. And there's also a connotation of in enjoying the beauty of these pheasants, the fact that you're not just seeing them out in nature, that it is on this, curated piece of real estate that is only exists in some people's, paradigm and not in others. That there's a question of like who is a visitor and who is a, who belongs there, who is it like owned by, and also who the fuck does all the work to maintain it, because obviously it just doesn't get done by itself. And so then there's also a danger of once of like possible jealousy and envy, and having, begrudging this beauty and abundance being available to some and not to others, and also turning a blind eye as to how much work actually is required to maintain such a thing. Where do the resources to do that come from? And just if there's an inherent or blatant disregard for the fact that some people might be, that this might produce a sense of envy in others, that there could be danger. There could be danger of brewing. So that is pretty crazy, I think. Let me just read some of the actual keywords that was included. And this is what I mean by Sabian symbols being so dead ass. Again, the Sabian symbols were written in the 1220s. And then, I don't know, this publication was probably done in the 80s or something. But key symbols of this karmic condition include aristocracy and ruling elites, beauty and elegance, fabulous displays of colors, peacocks, peacocking, pheasants, statues, bird baths. And the caution of this symbol are foolish disregard for impending danger, feeling that one has to be on parade or else they will be overlooked, issues regarding standing out in the crowd, jealousy and envy from what is displayed, luxury and beauty or snobbery that excludes, and showing off. I think I already said that. And also, do not enter signs and keep off the grass. Maybe we should also include a yum, yay, pheasant eggs, delicious. So yeah, obviously the resources aren't like completely not available, but there comes a question of like, who's maintaining this? And I've really enjoyed looking at these pheasants, but also, why can't I get closer to them? Am I just a visitor? What are the closing hours? Who maintains this place? I don't know. It's a lot of crazy stuff, but isn't that wild that like something that was written completely out of, just at a different time and published at a different time with no actual, immediate connection to what's happening now. This is what we talk about, the timelessness of spiritual continuum, of the messages of like universal information, as opposed to curated left brain information, even if it's under the guise of it being like natural and organic and like actual reporting of the capital T truth. So tune into spirit is my main jam. And also always look at the moon. It's not just about the sun. In fact, there's a reason why we only look at the sun. And it's not because that's where it's at. It's because I always say that, the Western world was built by a bunch of, watchmakers. I always say that your natal chart is that you wound your own watch, okay? And you came here for everything to go off in its own time, having these certain experiences. Of course, you have free will, but it's like when certain cycles and certain gears, click off to like make this door open or get your focus in this direction in order for you to evolve or to experience things that you need to evolve, or to break a pattern. But we were always taught to, ask everyone else for the time, even if we're wearing our own wristwatch, or we don't wear our watch at all. We just have a phone. And so that's how I describe, your natal chart and the purpose of it. You drew your own map, you wound your own watch, but then, especially specifically in the past 2,500 years, you could even say 3,000 years, we had a bunch of people who were like, we don't want you to be able to tell the time from the sky because we have watches that are on our time that we want you to abide by. So not only are we like, fuck your watch, but also fuck your ability to actually be able to look over our heads and see what's going on universally, and then, understand what it means to you individually. Okay, so that was a karmic condition. These pheasants that hopefully produce amazing eggs that are delicious and quite nutritious. That is, so the pheasants display brilliant colors on a private estate. So again, there's an ability to have this beauty in a protected state, as inorganic as that protected and very abundant, luxurious, and exclusive state might be. It can provide a lot of inspiration for the onlookers. It could even be inspiring for the people who tend it or visit it. But at the same time, it can also breed a lot of envy and a lot of questions as to who owns this, who actually has access to it. Is this available to everybody? Is this, is everyone allowed to observe or partake in this beauty and abundance? And if not, there is a real danger of, when people get hip to or to a passive breaking point of, just being like, no, it's mine. Oh no. Oh, good. Look, another technical difficulty. I think we'll be good. Just hold on a second. And then, okay, so we're going from the pheasants on the estate to the focus of this full moon, which is revealed to us in the Sabian symbol for Capricorn 12, which is a student of nature lecturing, revealing little known aspects of life, which I would like to think that I am. Oh, by the way, this full moon does have specific significance for me in my natal chart, because the full moon is taking place exactly on my natal Mars. So there is a lot of information here. Maybe that's why I'm feeling the need to really share this 3-point process of the Sabian symbols, and just let everyone else on the internet. I can point you in the direction of people that I think are very good to tell you more about the astrology, because there's a lot of information out there. But yeah, the Sabian symbols are just the best. So, okay, a student of nature lecturing, revealing little known aspects of life. It does have to do with, forgotten or never learned information, specifically of ancient or holistic or timeless sources, and a student of nature revealing to you through their own individual experience information that can really help us identify where and how we are disconnected from the actuality of things. That nature is that which we are of, and how to readdress and reconnect with the truth and the knowledge, the inherent knowledge that it reveals to us. And then also it has to do with, well, why the hell were we disconnected from it in the first place? And obviously, modern society, technology, and this says now it's time to seek a more alternative viewpoint. And in seeking the alternative viewpoint, there's likely to be resistance. Like, some people are going to be like, who cares? Some people are going to be like, you're a student. Some people are going to be like, you're a hippie. Some people are going to be like, I'm benefiting from this level of disconnectedness. Sorry that it's fucking your chi. I don't really give a shit, these are all things that we're likely to experience, but the focus needs to be on, listening and reconnecting. I love this one quote that I did not put in my notes here, so forgive me for looking at my book to read it, but it says, we can teach or we can access knowledge through others who specialize in these subjects. They have done the footwork of gathering relevant information. In other words, we can actually use the tools of intellectualism that have helped disconnect us from the world in order to reconnect our awareness. So again, it's not about throwing out the baby with the bathwater, okay, in terms of acknowledging that we're essentially becoming far more left brain than is healthy. We live in a world where there is essentially no support or observance of the work required to support ourselves on a qualitative level, on a subjective level. Instead, we are, told to um, value ourselves and focus our time and our energy on things that produce quantitative results, results that can be measured. And that often happens at the rejection or the, continuing along a path where our subjective inner self goes unsupported. That does include our spiritual self. So I just love this image. And yeah, I think it's really important to learn from your own and other people's experiences. And I talk a lot about this in my diatribes about how storytelling is like the truth is really revealed in stories now. And I was even talking about like David Simon and um, uh, just like all of these things. I was like, there is so much more truth. Like you could learn a lot more about how like politics actually work and how like maybe, some grassroots, well-meaning, local candidate for something like that, all of a sudden becomes the exact thing that they were fighting against, and they were looking to unseat from a position of authority just 4 seasons before, or 3 seasons before. It's like, the one thing that is true is that the wheel always turns, and that's something that's part of the reason why you need to pay attention to the organic, holistic understanding of life that incorporates both the qualitative and the quantitative, both the feminine and the masculine, both the external and internal, because they're not this whole notion. I can't wait. This is might be a good thing for the next one, but it's the separation of consciousness and existence into good and bad, that we're allowed to we end being, we end being whole essentially. So yeah, so the focus on this is observing and translating so others may learn. Green politics, I thought that was an interesting one. It says issues the conservatives don't want revealed. I don't even know, like, I mean, conservatives, but I feel like everyone's protecting their own ass. So like I would broaden that one for the current, but this is just what this book is saying. It says nature and natural remedies, science and its rewards, uh, science and its rewards and drawbacks. Sorry, science and its rewards and drawbacks. Issues such as global warming, whistleblowers, natural healing methods, documentaries, and conspiracy theories. How the fuck are these keywords, again, attached to this effing symbol, written in a time, completely a linear time, okay? Completely not exact, like connected to this time. And yet it's so emblematic of what is happening right now. Oh, also the caution, this is very important. The caution of this, and this is something to focus on and recognize and to attune your, listening towards your student of nature lecturing, okay, and the learning from others and the learning from self and the learning from nature, is the caution of this Sabian symbol is radical non-humanistic views. Radical non-humanistic views. This is what we are learning to observe, identify, and find our way away from. Okay. And it doesn't mean that you can cancel people or voices. It means that you need to have as good and better of an argument and provide opportunities and whatever to reconnect us to the capital T truth, instead of just letting whoever has the mic or the most ad dollars or the most whatever the all the billboards in your local vicinity. I don't know how many of you guys. I live in New York, so there's billboards galore. So yeah, so the caution: non-humanistic views, intellectual smugness, lecturing, and browbeating. Sorry guys, I can get very dogmatic. So if you're offended, I did not mean to offend you. Modern technological advances that stifle the environment, and lip service to conservation issues. I am most concerned with preserving nature, and that includes like our humanity. That is like something that I feel very, very important about. And the only way we can actually do that is to like connect ourselves to our humanity, reconnect the two hemispheres of our brain, of our consciousness, of all the things, and to stop just doing things that are, for the benefit of literally no one, and that break your back and force you to choose duty over love, and to completely either anesthetize yourself to get through or completely dissociate in order to partake in, and then be like, yeah, but at least I can like pay my bills. So very into, but this is what's like really going on right now. And this is what's coming to like the most maximum something right now in our consciousness. We're experiencing it at individual levels as well as a collective level. And again, I'll do the recap on all of them, but I want to tell you what the quest is. This is fucking crazy. Okay, the quest. So the first one is the karmic condition, what brought us to this point. The focus or the objective is the student of nature lecturing, revealing little known aspects of life, including how we can reconnect to nature, and how it is that we forgot nature and became disconnected in the first place, and how we can readdress the imbalance. Or yeah, the quest that we are on is a fire worshiper meditates on the ultimate realities of existence. A fire worshiper meditates on the ultimate realities of existence, which I think is effing crazy. Because immediately in the interpretation from Linda Hill, she immediately brings up Zoroastrianism, and the fact that this conjured image attached to Capricorn, the degree of Capricorn 13, is referring back to a follower of Zoroaster, at least the religious tenets that he laid out as a prophet, as a religious reformer, blah blah blah. But when I went back to read more about Zoroaster, so that I had a better timeline, the really insane thing is that there's only like we can only suspect when it was that he was around, and there's also a lot of evidence that there may have been two of him. Like he may have existed 3,000 years before when it is said that he was to have existed. I guess probably the most taught in terms of like in school information that we have is that he was around, or he existed. He's a Persian prophet that existed between 630 to 541 BC, but that is not corroborated. But what we do know is that this fire worshiping, okay, is attached to these externalized, kind of more basically, in addition to monotheism, Zoroaster also, and the separation of existence and of consciousness and the realities of existence, which the ultimate realities of existence, the separation of nature and our consciousness into good and bad. And as opposed to understanding like things working on a continuum, that is like about balance, that like all of reality, all energies exist in a polarity, and that there's a need to balance them within the self, and that and on the outside of the self, and all this kind of stuff. So what we do know is that this obviously influenced a lot of the Abrahamic traditions, and a lot of the stuff, the religious tenets that then became societal tenets, that then became how we built our society then, and then like the Western world just like went that way. But what we also know is that from Zoroaster is when we get the influx of apocalyptic sentiment or dogma worked into this religious doctrine that had previously just been part of an oral tradition, and then it gets written down, and then it whatever. But actually, I think it was like David Mamet, of all people, the playwright, who had like a hilarious interview, and he did a bunch of them, like a year or so ago. But I was not familiar with the amount of like he had like a hilarious joke that I don't remember, but he was saying that like he was like most of the Torah like or at a certain point he's like we don't really care or talk about like any kind of apocalyptic anything, and then all of a sudden it's you could see where the insertion of apocalyptic thinking and sentiment shows up, because then it just all becomes about everyone wanting to kill Moses or something like that. I don't know. Go back. I'll put the link to that too. But in any case, what we do know, we don't know when this guy lived. We don't know what he was about. We do know that fire worshiping and sun worship and all that kind of stuff displaced things like the Sabians and the Chaldeans, to the point where after destroying the last moon temple in like 1031 AD, they actually sectioned off, they actually diverted the water that found their civilization uh, relied on to live. So they literally diverted the resources someplace else as like a final nail in the coffin of, sorry, moon worshiping, feminine energy, egalitarian, religious and cultural mystics and imparters of natural wisdom and ancient wisdom. We burned all your shit. We've ousted you from certain places, but the final way we're gonna do it is we're literally going to take the element that you use the most, both to live and for your religious ceremony and experience and stuff like that, and the by imparting tradition and wisdom through this, through water and the use of water and like ritual baptism and all this kind of stuff. We're literally going to divert it someplace else so that you don't have that either. And then you disappear. You disappear from the history books. You disappear from, the consciousness. You disappear from, it's a really, really effective way to get rid of your competition, I guess. I guess that's what we might say. So anyway, yeah, some of the keywords of this symbol, which again is the quest that we're on. So the quest is a fire worshiper meditates on the ultimate realities of existence. Ultimate realities of existence, not like ultimate reality or like ultimate existence, but like the ultimate realities of existence. Where it is that they come from, how you have to, despite the fact that you're already an established fire worshiper here, meditating and going within to actually find the answers on the ultimate realities of existence is what this thing is actually talking about. So don't let my really shoddy, what some might call conspiratorial relaying of a human linear timeline of lost histories ones that were not written by the victors, obviously. Don't take my word for it. Go within. Very important. And also read other things. Read more than what you were given if you went to. Yeah, I mean, even if you went to private school, just read everything. And yeah, let's like make critical thinking sexy again, but critical thinking that's attached to individual internal resonance. Like, can we mandate that? Is that something that we can do? I hope so. Anyway, okay. So, keywords of this are self-conquest, philosophy, the stories of our lives, examining life and its meaning, throwing oneself into the deep end, and the search for core truths. The caution of it is an overestimation of personal power and abilities, obsession to the point of self-obliteration, being intense, going too deeply, exhausting oneself, excluding friends and family because of philosophical or spiritual convictions, and not seeing the forest for the trees. those are all the cautions that the wonderful Linda Hill gave to this. So, yeah, there was a time when there were many rituals of many kinds of people, and even within the same, group or tribe, there were a whole, multicolored, a whole galaxy of multicolored uppers, downers, screamers, laughers. Thank you, Hunter S. Thompson, for that quote. Um, Going on in terms of spiritual worship and our understanding of the world, both like on a like civil level, practical level, as well as on a loftier, connected, divine level. So we have to I think the three things that I connect all of these Sabian symbols that represent the quest, the starting off point, the origins, what it's rooted in, the focus of it, and the quest that we go through or embark upon in order to integrate the lessons of this full moon so that we can fully release what it is that we thought we were doing or what we needed, and take what it is that we have grown over these past 2 weeks and even over the past 15 years, and let everything that is no longer is suited for us, that is no longer important, that possibly was never important to us individually on like a true, authentic, energetic level, is just, we got to let it go back into the ground so it can turn into something else. We don't want to prop it up. We don't, you can't like prop up a dead plant. Like the best thing that you can do is, strap it to something has the structure and just watch it wilt on there. Like that's not chill either. So let's not do that. Um, and yeah, but the thing that connects all of these things is all three of them uh, talk about, well, nature in some sense, and all three of them are talking about like origins of power, and what is really the truth and how it's presented versus like what it really is, and a need to go within, and the self is the missing component in all of these systems of power or value systems that are externalized and imposed upon the self, but then they become internalized because the messaging is constant and very strong, and we're never really taught to tune in to ourselves and how we feel about things. And that's part of really coming back to wholeness with the self so that you can actually disconnect from the level of disconnectedness that we consider to be normal for our entire existence, and for our parents' existence, and for their parents' existence, and for their parents' parents' existence, et cetera, et cetera. This is giving us a little bit of a historical and psychological, spiritual, societal, anthropological context of what part of the wheel that we're on, and what's like coming to fruition and what we are experiencing in this day and age. It's literally a tale as old as time, and we've just been given three timeless, pretty timeless, at least pretty, yeah, they're timeless, timeless images to give us another, some other data points to consider, instead of just being like, yeah, everything's going to hell in a handbasket, or yeah, I definitely need to, um, you know, berate myself with insults until I learn how to be more disciplined or conformed or feel, dissociated to the point where I can just mute all my colors and, just get reabsorbed into the machine and say that that's what I'm here to do, because it's not. Um, and yeah, that's really but the work is here, the work is ahead of us. And it's important that we do it, and to support ourselves in doing it, and in supporting ourselves, that does mean that we do have to release all the, feelings of like resentment or failure. Um, the I thought that just going back to a way of external work and achievement as a substitute for authentic emotional connection and quality of life, and supporting ourselves from the inside out, it's not tenable. Okay, it has a very short lifespan, and the people that enforce it are are actual like sadists, or they assume that you're expendable, that life is expendable. And that's just not the truth either. As far as, I mean, maybe you disagree. If so, you've spent a long time here listening to me talk about the opposite. So well done on if you are someone who doesn't subscribe to life is not expendable, it's beautiful and it's totally rad, and separating it into good and bad, and then only following the quantitative elements of life or assessment of life as it's just a shit show. It's just a shit show. So but I'm here to hopefully make it less of a shit show. Also, other things that are happening in the cosmos, if you will. Unless anyone has any questions in the chat, feel free to throw them into the chat. I just want to say that, yes, happy Independence Day tomorrow for if you are here and celebrating. There is that's what's really interesting about this. The fact that this Capricorn full moon is the last full moon in Capricorn we'll have while Pluto is retrograded back into Capricorn. And Pluto has about a 250-year rotation. Okay, it takes it that long to go around the Earth, and so that means that we are currently in between. We're at the degree at which the French Revolution happened, and it will actually go back all the way to where to the degree that Pluto was at when the U.S. Revolution took place. So, and this will be, I believe, the third and final time that it does that. But yeah, we're not quite into that. We're learning how to. We're being tested about how committed we are to centering the power source around the individual and not around these external power structures and authority and the consolidation of like power and hierarchy and all that kind of stuff. Like we still have some evolving to do, some lessons to learn. So I just want to make you aware if you've like felt like a real tightening down, especially since what June 11th, I believe, is when Pluto went back into Capricorn, and even before that, when Pluto actually started its retrograde, which was May 1st. So it was like we reached a point of like individual blah blah blah, and then we started to like backtrack very very slowly. But where we are right now might make us feel like we're at the end of our rope and maybe need to reconsider some of the stuff that we did. Plus, we're in a larger Venus retrograde shadow and cycle. Venus will be going retrograde right before my birthday at the end of July. But more importantly, we're also, I mean, all of these things are of equal importance. But if you want to know how they affect your chart, please contact me for a reading. Or I can also point you to some good resources depending on what your level of knowledge of astrology is. And but the other thing is that the lunar nodes are going to shift, which means that the evolutionary focus, an 18-month focus, will be shifting from Taurus to Aries. So this can be likelihood that there will be a shift. It will be a lot less around resources, tangible resources, material security, etc. And finite ones, because that's what Taurus is. We want to go towards the north node of Taurus, which is all about tangible, actual, provable like resources. Like food is a tangible resource. Commodities, physical commodities, stuff like that. Not things that are ephemeral or like seemingly have power, even though they like might not even have a body. They don't actually have a physical existence or a body, or no receipts to prove um, like that they exist or ownership. So if you can hold off going like invest, I told everyone that I knew, do not invest in cryptocurrency during the 18 months that the that the North Node was in Taurus, because I was like, the shift is going to be towards tangible resources and goods, including things like real estate, and the body's real estate. So anyway, we could have a shift towards a lot more aggressive and assertive independence, like starting in it's like on the 16th of this month, July 16th, is when the lunar nodes shift into Aries and get away from Libra. So things will eventually become, over a process of 18 months, a lot less collaborative, a lot less partner oriented, and a lot more like, this is my will, this is my way. I will, go full Bronze Age on a motherfucker in order to institute it. So fuck what you heard. And, uh, you know, but at first, usually we end up kind of swinging closer to the more cooperative side, like, oh, we can balance this. Oh, I don't like, I can balance the disagreements. I can fill in, I can be diplomatic. And then we slowly shift from that into more of like a, um, iron fist and a velvet glove approach, and then we shift all the way to individual with pitchfork, says I will burn your house down kind of thing, in order to make sure that I'm heard, that my will, that what I need is whatever. So yes, it does sound like we're going to be moving into some crazy things, some crazy experiences, but I think that's kind of why I wanted to talk a little bit about where exactly this energy was coming from, and that it's been going on for a while, and to know that we've been here before, and to acknowledge that first karmic condition of like, oh, this is like lovely, but how exactly is this like huge estate with the pheasants on it holding up, and who maintains it, and who's welcome, and who gets this, who's only like a visitor, and um, we can't ignore, we can have a foolish disregard for the possibility of someone wanting to come and intrude and take that by force, or break down what that is, even though it has inherent beauty on there, and a way of maintaining beauty and abundance and order. But the seemingly exclusivity of it is enough to get us people, to really mess with our ability to, our sense of fairness, essentially. And then, of course, the student of nature, lecturing, revealing little known aspects. So focus on our sorry, it's very loud with the train. Focusing on the fact that there are so many aspects that we can learn about ourselves and our true nature, and the true nature of existence, and of power and process, and the ways around things, that reconnecting to those things, reconnecting to yourself, reconnecting to spirituality, grounding it in the physical experience. Okay, I'm not talking about like run off and just join I mean, you can if you want to. I'm not saying, if you want to be a Hare Krishna, do it. Fucking do it. If that is what your heart is calling you to do, by all means, I definitely want you to do that. But you know, I feel like storytelling, using your and listening to others, other stories, or possibly lectures of what it is that they have experienced in reconnecting with nature, reconnecting with ancient wisdom, that these can be really profound insights that can inspire you to do the same, or even inspire little like flicks in the brain that are actually synapses connecting the overall truth, or like where and what the ancient wisdom in you, where it resides, and that kind of stuff. And again, I talk a lot about being concerned about the left brandification of society and just like breaking things down to like zeros and ones and yes and nos, instead of accepting that both and is like an overall tenet of existence. You don't have to believe that. And also, there is another thing that the focus is allowing space and acceptance, and knowing that you can use your intellectualism to actually identify where the disconnect happened and how we can correct it without cataclysm, okay, or without, being at odds with your neighbor all the time. And then finally, the fire worshiper meditates on the ultimate realities of existence. The fire worshipers, by the way, they won, okay? They won the war. And at this point in time, they're meditating on the overall realities of existence. And so there is more to learn, and you're going to have to connect with yourself in order to do it. These are all examples of the work that needs to be done. And so I hope you have a blessed full moon where you acknowledge the work that you've done over the past 2 weeks. You give yourself a fair assessment as to how much it has supported or rejected or shat on the intentions that you set for yourself 2 weeks ago. How much the overall work, your work, identity, sense of belonging, sense of achievement, sense of security, how aligned it is with who you really are and what you really want and need for yourself, and how much of it is based on things that you internalized or embarked on 15 years ago. And, if the world looks different or you look different, to allow yourself to let go of the things so that like you're basically so that you're not rooted in fear and insecurity. And instead you can like be like, you know what, this happened. By the way, I'm not that person anymore. By the way, I don't need to look like a Kardashian anymore to feel, like worthy of something. Because, the overall, the truth of this full moon, again, it happens every year, but this one's a super intense one because of where the South Node is and where Pluto is right now, and where it will be for the last time in our lives, by the way, with this, combination of things, is that the Capricorn moon is going to consistently tell you, before we can focus on Cancer, Cancer, where the sun is right now, and Cancer is ruled by the moon, and that is a sign of receptivity, of nurturing. It's the archetype of the mother, the one that is in, like unconditional love and emotional receptivity. And so this whole month is about us wanting to be able to enjoy that, and give that chance to rest and digest on an individual level. But this Capricorn moon that happens and is very powerful right now is telling us we can't. I have work to do. I have to be a success. I have to achieve something. And it tries to trick the sun into believing that that you don't deserve that, that emotional receptivity, that emotional care and nurturing to show it to yourself. That you have to achieve more or do more work or like meet more goals before you can give yourself that chance to do it. And the truth about Capricorn is it never does. It will never accept emotional receptivity and whatever as essential or part of its process. That's why it has to be countered by its wonderful counterweight of the Cancer sign. So it's all blessed work. Just please keep it balanced. Keep it balanced, be fair to yourself. And that does require you to be, right now, sober and disciplined in what it is in the work that you still feel that you need to do or the new work that you're looking to take on. But it also means that you have to, remove yourself or release from yourself the responsibilities of continuing on the path of who it is that you're not are, and the work that you're constantly shouldering and taking responsibility for. You also, I think I put this in the show notes, that We also, a huge part of like the discipline and like really sober um, look at who and what we are today and what we need in order to achieve this balanced security in a way that's aligned with our higher most selves is we also have got to, and maybe it's because I'm a youngest child, okay? So this might be just me projecting onto you. But for all those last children out there, and no, but for anyone who has ever used the pattern of, if things don't go right, someone will save me. If things don't, whatever, something, someone else will save the day. Someone else will do the work. And that is also another untruth that we need to remove from ourselves, or have to keep ourselves from. We need to break that pattern. We need to have a pattern disruption around that kind of thinking, and instead just be like, this is what I need. This is how much I can handle. This is what I'm going to do first for myself, like systematically build that structure for yourself around the self, and not give up and have to go headlong into a crumbling system for some semblance of security and power over your life, because it don't work like that. That should have reached the end of its road. So hashtag no saying, and thank you again for joining me. My name is Elise Edwards, aka Elise Anmchara, aka Elise It Matters What You Say, and I am the founder and an astrologer at Anmchara Astrology. And I look forward to meeting you next time. I'm going to leave this video up on YouTube for a bit, and then I will likely move it to my Patreon. So please consider joining the Patreon. It's only, you can join for as little as $3.33 a month. Oh yeah, also aka DJ July. That's also my name. You can follow me on Twitch, both at DJ July, and I have an Anmchara astrology page, which would actually be really nice if you followed, because then I could stream from that to my Anmchara astrology YouTube page also. And yeah, basically we also have to make magic, and not magic for other people, make it from ourselves, know that we're magic, peel back all the other shit, make sure that you have like your colors on full display, and not like have to feel like you have to like shrink away or be different or conform in order to like make your way through. But right now it's really serious. We might be feeling that feeling of like we got to buckle down, maybe like an austerity, kind of like mindset. And yeah, there might have to be like some consolidating of like power or resources in your own life, but don't allow you to disconnect from what like your inherent value, who you really are. Be vulnerable enough to reach out for help or assistance. But again, you cannot expect someone else to save you. It's all about doing the work and knowing and like building something that's meaningful for you, instead of spending your limited, your finite time here building something that you hate for somebody else just because it keeps a roof over your head, even though you definitely need a roof over your head. I know it's complicated, but it's not that complicated. I believe in you, okay? Everyone, thank you again for joining me. Again, I'm Elise Anmchara, aka Elise Edwards, aka DJ Joy. Please follow me on all the things, and like and subscribe and put your notifications on. I will do my best to do these things more regularly. Please feel free to leave comments of what you liked, what you didn't like. Most things, even if you think they're going to be offensive, hopefully you'll keep them, what do you call that? Practical? I don't know. Anyway, you guys are cool. I think you're great. And again, enjoy the fireworks. Go out and look at the moon. It's beautiful. And I will see you next time.